Thank you so much for being patient, Jay, this evening. I know we're behind schedule. How are you? How are you?
I'm great. Wasn't a bad mood, but now I'm in a good mood knowing that I'm going to be talking about games for the next however long.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, Jay, before we get there, here's one for you. What animal is Thor looking for when he enters the Pet Palace store in the first Thor movie? Now, I can give you either 4 optional answers or 2 optional answers. I will give you 4.
Okay.
A, an eagle. B, an elephant. C, a horse. Or D, a llama.
Oh,
I
God.
can repeat the question.
Yeah, repeat the question really quick.
What animal is Thor looking for when he enters the Pet Palace store in the first Thor movie, otherwise known as Thor? A, an eagle. B, an elephant. C, a horse. D, a llama.
I honestly don't even remember this scene. But if I had to, I mean, I feel like it'd be a 50-50. I'm going to go with elephant.
It is C, a horse.
Damn it, I thought that was too obvious of an answer. I thought it being Thor, he might just go for something really ridiculous, but yeah, I made him
Yeah, like he's drunk or something.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. The Pet Palace, I don't even that doesn't even sound familiar to me.
Mate, haven't got a clue.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you the scene. That scene. Couldn't tell you.
It's been a while
try and turn my mic so I'm
a
little bit more towards the... Sorry?
It's been a while since I've watched the first one, so...
Which one's your favourite Thor?
I actually like the second one. A lot of people don't, but I do. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely I think it's good. Because I know the director wanted to get his own Snyder cut for the second one, right?
You're joking.
Yeah, that's what he said.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jay, look, we've got a huge show ahead of us. We've got the full reboot edition today. I think there even might be some more editions in the future, but for now, in terms of the actual structure of what we're talking about, this is it. So before we begin, I want to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, to the guy that, in a way, caused us to go on a break and reevaluate the show and made me take a look at the quality of the show and the assets and the imagery and to go, actually, you know what? This needs to be better. And that man is Mark Chamberlain.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't told you this yet, Jay. Your dad emailed us.
Of course he did.
And I should get the email up, really, so I'm breaking my own rules.
I know that he's listening to this on Sunday while he's walking the dog, and he's probably going to be loving this.
Is he walking it like Adam Buxton walks crazy in the morning?
That's exactly, yeah. He'll love that you mentioned that.
I didn't know he had a dog. What sort of dog?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I know it's the same dog that there's a Pokemon that's it's based on, but yeah.
Okay. So Mark emailed me twice on the 4th of January.
Oh, God.
One of them was to ask for a shout out for a streamer called Sakushi Adamina or Adamina.
Yeah.
Apologies if I've butchered that. He's a really cool streamer, and he recommended that maybe, you know, we either check his stuff out or, you know, see if he'd come on the show. But basically, Mark, to put it bluntly to you, the show's probably not big enough for him to be interested in us. However, that's what spurred me on, or us on, to reevaluate the show, take a break, I moved house, and then to come back when we were ready with the time and the assets to really go, you know what, this is half decent. And I get excited when I'm seeing Jay's reaction to some of the stuff, you know, we're doing like backgrounds and stuff, and he's like, oh, this looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, it is decent. Well, it's very decent.
If Jay likes it, then we're doing something right. And then, Mark, you emailed us a second time. So, Jay, he nicknamed me Knickers, which I am interested about.
I don't know about that one.
I don't either. And then he basically was going on about how I don't understand how Stadia works. So he explained you need a controller, which costs $62.99. By the way, Mark, more expensive than a console controller, but we'll move on. And then you get a free Chromecast that plugs into your TV, and then you basically stream it in 4K at 60 frames per second or better from that, and that's basically it. And then you've got the subscription or whatever. He then says it's the future, there will be no more consoles. And Mark, I actually agree with that sentiment. I'm not sure it's yet. I agree that, you know, in the future, we'll just plug a stick in, or not even, and we'll just like turn on the TV and we'll just play a game
I
on
mean,
the
that
cloud.
basically is what Stadia is. I mean, I have one,
Right.
which I
Oh,
forgot
yes,
to
of course.
mention
Yes.
last time, but I do have one. Dad gave me one, and I tried it out, and yeah, it does work. It is basically that. Like, you plug it in, set it all up, 60 frames, 4K, all good to go. No
All good
need to
to go.
download the game. You just stream it.
And like I
pretty
say,
ideal,
I think
honestly.
that is the future, but it's just a case of, is that going to be the future yet? I'm not sure, especially with these consoles selling the way they are.
I was
But
going to say, I feel like the problem with it is that Microsoft and Sony already have so many years of loyalty there, if that makes sense. Like, they kind of have that, you know, brand that's just everybody knows. And people
absolutely.
tend not to want to change technology too much. Like, if you have an iPhone, you're a lot less likely to want to change over to an Android, and vice versa. Like, you kind of just stick with what you know. You know, and I feel like Stadia's a bit too much of a gamble for a lot of people, and then also it's just not a lot of people really know what it's about. So I think once it's been around for long enough and it sort of evolves, I reckon people will they'll probably get a bit more of a, you know, people playing it. I don't know.
I agree. I'm not sure it'll be long enough for people to, you know,
Yeah,
jump
that's the
on
point. That's the problem with a
millions.
lot of like products, is that if they're around too long without enough of an audience, they just tend to die out,
Right.
because obviously they're
Right.
not being, you know,
And I
no
agree,
money
by the way,
coming
Jay,
in.
with what you're saying about, you know, familiar with what you own. However, I guess that the one objection that comes to mind with that is that, of course, that the majority of 360 owners ended up buying a PS4, so to speak, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Well, they must have, I assume, because of the numbers. But so that's interesting. But anyway, that was obviously a very wild case. But you're right. I'm not going to any other sort of phone. No way. No way.
No. What have you
So
got? You
shout
got
out to
an iPhone
Mark.
or an Android?
iPhone, mate. Come on,
Okay.
iPhone.
Okay.
You know when people are like, "Oh, have you tried Android?" I'm
I
like,
feel like
I've got a
Android
work
would actually be
Android.
better for me, because it's a lot better for mobile gaming in some respects.
Depending on the one you get. Well, that you can
No,
get like the
just
specially made of gaming phones, can't you?
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the time they're Android. They run off of the Google Play Store, and a lot of the time you can get certain mobile games. There's more access to betas and stuff. It's a lot easier to do APKs on an Android phone, which is basically like downloading the game. But I mean, most of the time it's a free game you can download, but you can basically make any game that isn't always accessible on the Play Store still run on that phone, basically. So
Got you.
there's, like, you know, a lot of
Okay.
YouTubers who do that. So it would be nice to have
Okay.
that, but I think it'd be too
How do
much of
they
a
stream
hassle.
on a phone, Jay? Do they
You know
literally
what?
just do it on the phone?
I don't know. I think there's like a cable, like a HDMI thing they have to plug in, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
I think a lot of time they have a special phone for it. I know there's one guy who has a gaming phone. So
do you watch streamers play mobile games?
yeah, I mean, I don't play them. I don't watch them necessarily play the game. I watch them if there's like a gacha game. They'll tend to like play it and sort of showcase characters or like tier lists and stuff, like different builds for stuff. So yeah, sometimes. There's one guy in particular, I think, called Volkin, Volkin. I think he's like an Australian guy. He's probably my go-to guy at the minute. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So shout out to Mark. Shout out to my brother L, who has
especially, yeah,
designed all of the new imagery. I'll say, the backgrounds, the logo. For me personally, Jay, I think our small logo is one of the best logos I've ever seen, in my opinion. I love it. So big shout out to L.
I like the colours. That's my favourite, I think. Great colour scheme.
We went back and forth on the color palette. He showed me this website, and it was it was good. And then I think last shout out is to you, Jay, for putting up with my delays for the last 6 months or more, because I know that Jay's very, very keen on doing the show or the podcast, whatever. And You know, we say, this is gaming therapy for us. We've got loads of opinions. We want
Honestly, I
to
think
shout out to the universe.
that was like the biggest thing for me is like the therapy aspect of it. It's just getting it like off my chest. Like I don't really have a lot of people to talk to about certain gaming things that I know you would understand. Like I don't have to like explain as much to you because you just already know like what's going on. So
Well, like today, you messaged me. No, I messaged you about this thing that came about, and then we'll talk about later. We'll talk about both these later. And then you messaged me about a thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and like we both know what they mean without even having to explain. You know?
yeah, there was
Actually,
one thing. What?
go on. Sorry, go on.
There was one thing, and I had already like known about it, and I'd already actually put it in the doc for us to talk about, which was
Correct.
So
Jay,
we're on the same page.
I'm gonna break my own rule already because I have to share this with the world. Okay. So guys, Jay doesn't use commas in his messages very much.
No,
And
I used to, but I gave up on it.
I want you all at home, or at work, or in the car.
Oh god, are you seriously gonna do this to me? Don't do this to me.
So this is the message I got. Just got the new 6-star on Alchemy Stars. Saved up so many gems to get him too. So happy. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with that? That sounds about right to me.
So I'm just gonna dissect it then. So is Alchemy Stars a mobile game?
It is. It's a game I play every day, roughly twice a day. I do my dailies in the morning and then my second lot of dailies in the evening.
Have you told me about this?
Probably, but probably not on here.
What? Go on then.
What do you mean?
What can you? Is it like go back every you gotta? It's
Yeah,
a mobile
so
game.
there's like a thing where like every so many hours you get like stamina back. So like I have like 170 stamina a day to spend, and I spend 120 of it in the morning, and then I'll usually spend the rest of it plus whatever I've gained up until about 6 p.m. So it's like 6 in the morning, 6 p.m. So every 12 hours or so. It works out well because when I wake up, then that's when I get home. So.
Well, congratulations to Jay for getting the 6-star alchemy thing. I think, in my opinion.
You bugger! You're so like I can tell you're not like you just don't care. You're just like
No, I do care.
Mobile
I do care.
games.
No,
mobile
games. I am definitely like, oh Jay, why are you wasting your time on that?
Dude, it's honestly, I'm not It's got so many. The player base is insane.
Dude. As far as I'm concerned, of all gaming podcasts out there, you called Genshin Impact before anything else I was hearing about.
I did. I also called something else which we were going to talk about today, but yeah.
Oh.
Dude, I'm good. Like, call me Nostradamus. Is that his name? The one who predicts stuff. That's my. Dude, I'm going to be the guy with all the nicknames. Buddy, Goldilocks Gamer.
Goldilocks Gamer.
Nostradamus.
That's a catchy one.
We're going to have to come up with a gaming Nostradamus. One that has like a pun, I don't know.
Let's go on to the show.
Please.
But yes, thank you for putting up with my delays, Jay. I appreciate it, and I think we're in a good place here, and I think we're both excited.
We both had to get a lot done with our personal lives.
It's true.
Had a lot to deal with, so we're good.
And we are officially on the first topic of the day, my topic, Jay, which is Control.
I was a little bit worried about this one.
Okay, what are you worried
about? Because I'm still yet to play it.
I've got no spoilers, if that's what you're worried about.
Good. I'll try not to spoil with my topic too.
Okay.
Because you haven't played it, but I have. I feel it's a good duality for today.
Yeah, and do you know what, Jay? Look, I've got to a point where I don't mind if you say, oh, I like this character, or I didn't like this mechanic in what you're going to talk about later. I really don't mind. I'm at a point. I'm trying. It's not going to ruin the game. You know what I mean? So, you're good. Let me know if I'm going too far on this, okay? But I've got some thoughts, Jay. So I would like to say them out, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I'll be as efficient as I can while trying to remain interesting. So. Control was an interesting game because it came out in a fairly quiet year. It came out in 2019, and after the year that was 2018, which I believe was Red Dead 2 and God of War, amongst other games.
Wow.
Control and Death Stranding putting aside the discussion of how good those games are by themselves, they became two of the biggest games in that year because of the year of games that we had. So Control went from being a good game to being like this great game that was one of the games of the year, and like people were even talking about it as a game of the generation in a way. Okay, so I had to put all that aside because even though it had this rising reputation, I finally got the time to try Control while I was waiting to get a Series X. And I needed to get rid of all these preconceptions of how good this game was because I knew it was a quiet year and it wasn't necessarily going to be that great. So dulling my expectations for this game, Jay, was a great decision for me, okay? Because it is a great game. It starts with a mystery surrounding every element of the plot and everything tied into the game. So you play as Jesse Faden. The building you're in, your motivations, the happenings within, the powers you obtain, the weapons you use. It's like a great masseuse where the game doesn't build up all these elements to a really big reveal at the end where you're like, oh, this is the secret. It's more consistent than that. It's a kind of slow reveal of little things where you're like, oh, okay, that's what that is, and oh, that's what that is throughout the whole game, so that by the time you get to, you know, the last quarter, the last third of the game, most of it kind of makes sense in a way, and you actually sort of like when you're wandering around, you're like, actually, I think I kind of know what's going on for the most part here, despite what other games may have achieved with your Twin Peak atmosphere and the X-Files type atmosphere. Control does maximize on this vibe, and its biggest aspect of the ever satisfying telekinetic powers is really important to this game as well. So you end up mastering them naturally because you're playing it for so long, and there's not loads of them. They don't necessarily feel 10 out of 10. Like if you were like, okay, Jay, sit down and you're gonna, you know, throw someone across the room. I don't think you would sit down, do that on the game, and you'd be like, oh, that animation was incredible. However, after you've done it for like the 50,000th time, and it still feels as satisfying as it does, I think really complements how satisfying the gameplay and the powers are. Moving on, we've got wonderful collectibles, which can be found around every corner. I personally think you're going to love the collectibles and the lore of this game. And they don't just inform you of what's going on, but they also provide context to things further afield. Some are quite funny, some are tragic, some are a little bit boring, especially if you don't like really deep sci-fi explanations, such as me, which actually remind me of some collectibles in Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, where they like give you scientific explanations for like guns and stuff, and you're like, that's great if you're a real nerd, but like I'm just a, you know, I don't know, a level B nerd, if you will.
Okay.
I can't recall when a AAA game doubled down on this type of atmospheric approach, where the atmosphere really is an entire character in the game. It just feels really refreshing compared to other games I've played recently. And there is also a handful of weird and wonderful characters within the building that you're exploring. It's not just the gameplay execution, which is great, but they're really brought to life, the characters, through the great delivery by the actors, and again because of the realized lore that they participate in, which comes to life over the course of the game. There are moments of doubt where you're like, is this all a dream? You know, is this all just a bit of a Mickey? But the game continues and it breaks down each aspect of the weird, so that eventually you make sense of it, as I kind of mentioned before. Now, in terms of the gameplay, you do have a tactical approach when facing enemies. It's not a case of you can go in and keep bashing X and you win. You've really got to combine your different powers to really defeat some of the opponents, which can get slightly tough, to be fair. And this game's around 20 to 30 hours.
Is that a little bit like Spider-Man? You know how in Spider-Man there's like certain enemies that require you have to use a certain move for you to like get past their barrier or like their defense or whatever. So it's like a similar thing, but with like combos of powers and stuff, right?
Definitely, mate.
Okay, that's good. I like it when games do that because it requires you to actually have to use everything rather than just using one thing that you know works every time. You've actually got to like make use of everything that you've got. So yeah, I like that.
these systems are quite clever because they make you probably use most of your powers. So Remedy, the studio who made Control, I wonder whether after Quantum Break, which is a game I know you like, and we'll talk about probably at a future date. But I know you like it.
If Control is anything like Quantum Break, I'm gonna love it.
Okay.
Quantum Break is one of my favorite. I just absolutely love it. It was so good. I really enjoyed it.
I wonder whether when they were making Control, their approach of making it a Metroidvania style game was something to do with their budget, because Quantum Break wasn't the biggest game in the world, and after playing Control, you do wonder whether it's almost like a AA game that has been worked upon to a AAA standard.
Are you saying Control or Quantum Break is like
Control? So I wonder whether the Metroidvania approach for Control is because of the budget, because they weren't the biggest studio in the world after Quantum Break. You know what I mean?
No,
so that's
Quantum Break never seemed like a massive game to me. I think most of the budget was probably in the TV show aspect of it.
Right, but that's what I mean, right? I'm not sure they got a huge return on that.
No, probably not. Unfortunately, good game.
So I wonder whether the design of this game was almost caused by because what I mean is Metroidvanias, because you're going back in the same places, you don't have to create new areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And you usually don't have to load too much either, so it's a less stress on the actual development and also like the way the game just plays in general.
Absolutely.
A little bit like Dead Space, actually.
Yeah.
Dead Space has a similar thing where they have to load certain areas, but you can do it because you have to go back and forth between some places. It doesn't always, take as much of a load on it. So, yeah, just good game design.
Yeah. I forgot about those Metroidvania areas in Dead Space. To be fair, yeah. But look, after playing it, that doesn't matter, because it does suit the environment and it does suit the gameplay. So in the first few hours, I was really engrossed with the world, what's going on, I had to so in the game, Jay, they've got some, not surprisingly, they've got some real life actors doing some videos and stuff. And I rewatched some of these a few times just to really understand what's going on, make sure I'm really on top of it. And by the way, the cast is the greatest hits of all the Remedy games, basically. So it's got voice actors from Alan Wake and not the characters, the voice actors.
Yeah, just the voice actors. Yeah.
And they're all great. They're really good, actually. Like it's one of the best sort of live action implementations I've seen probably in a game. And this engrossment I had in the first few hours did wear off, but clearly not enough because I have platinumed it and I've got every trophy in the DLCs as well. So I didn't finish everything in the game, but I did actually more than just the trophies required me to do because I was enjoying it so much and discovering things in the world. So there is one season pass with 2 DLCs, or the Ultimate Edition, which has now been updated for next gen, or I believe is for next gen. I'm a little bit confused on that, but basically all the DLCs in the Ultimate Edition. I think I bought the Ultimate Edition. And when I was playing it, Jay, it was begging for 60 frames per second. So you're going to have a great time on Series X because I played it in 30.
The thing is, I've already bought it on PlayStation.
PlayStation
4. So can I can upgrade to PS5, right?
I don't know.
I have to check that. I'll check that out later.
We'll check that out.
I reckon that'll probably cost, unfortunately. But
there was some controversy.
I can't remember. I think you have to pay again, which is annoying. But because I know it's on Gamepass as well right now too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's only the standard though. I was going to say it's just the standard.
Yeah. But yeah, it is, I think.
Fine, okay.
Nearly done, by the way, Jay. I appreciate your patience.
No, you're good.
The Foundation is the first DLC, and I found its environment a little grey, but it is a nice extension of the game, and it works well in concluding a storyline of one of the characters that you meet along the way. The second DLC, AWE, dives deeper. You know what? We are getting into minor spoiler territories here, but all I'll say is that it's a reward for cult fans of Remedy games in the past. And there were some terrifying moments in this DLC which I had to get through, which was kind of exciting.
Terrifying.
Like I hate horror, but you know, a couple of horror moments I'm like, well,
you like Dead Space though, right?
I do like Dead Space. It's a good
I think
point.
Dead Space is probably one of the most tolerable horror games.
Completely agree.
Evil Within is another one, very tolerable.
Did you play that?
Yeah, I have the first one. I really badly want to finish it and also play the second one as well. But apparently the second one wasn't as good, so I don't know about that.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I'll get round to it. Got
So
plenty of time.
the DLCs are great extensions of the game. And this is a sort of game, Jay, where I wanted the cinematic fuzz on because it suited the vibe and presentation.
Well,
of
I guess sort of like a 70s type feel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
like
is probably
60s almost, 50s
what
even.
Deathloop was trying to go for, but without the fuzz.
Definitely like that. Yeah. 100%.
Do you reckon Deathloop could probably benefit from a fuzz filter type thing, like a cinematic
I don't know if it's
thing?
got it already.
I wouldn't be surprised.
More of a... Yeah.
Honestly.
I don't know. But it's a wonderfully surprising and engrossing game from my perspective. You know, dulling down the expectations, and I would recommend it to any fan of the third-person action genre, also known as every Sony exclusive, even if it is just for the base game.
Sure.
That's it, boy.
I like that. Okay.
Have you got any questions or any main points? You don't have to. I've rambled on long enough.
When did you play Control? Do you remember when?
Oh my goodness.
What month it was? And how long did it take you? Because I'm curious about the length of the game. Because I've got a gauge, because you're obviously like, your playing is a bit different. I could probably get it done in, well, depending on what you say right now, will let me calculate how long it probably take me.
Yeah, so I believe end of all DLCs, I was looking at around 30-35 hours.
Dude, I thought you were going to say like 60 plus.
No, not at all.
In that case, then it'll probably take me about the same amount of time.
I reckon for the Goldilocks gamer himself, you could put it in with a strategic plan, and you could finish most of it in a weekend if you. A core game you could.
My sort of like daily limit is about 10 hours a day. Like if I've got the whole day off, 10 hours I can do. If I wake up early enough and I go to bed late enough, I can do 10 to 12 hours, I'd say. So,
I'd say for a normal week, you could do this in a week easy.
Okay, yeah, like 2 or 3 hours each night. Okay,
100%.
Fair enough.
I think it took me personally
that
about
sounds like
2
a lot
to 3
less
weeks.
than what I was expecting, which is I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like in my mind, Control is such a big game, but clearly doesn't sound it to me.
Not at all, mate. I would call it digestible.
Okay, that's a good descriptor. Okay.
Because I know you like them, and I like them too, but sometimes we don't, we could do with a not 60-hour
I feel like Quantum
game.
Break was actually probably about the same amount of time. It was like 20,
was, right?
it was like 25 hours or so. I think I finished it in a weekend. Or like 3 days, something like that.
I would have loved to see you play through that at the weekend. Or at a weekend.
Yeah, a weekend. Yeah, no, it was really, really good. For some reason, like having not played Control, for some reason I have it in my mind that it feels a little bit like the same atmosphere that Portal 2 had. And I don't know if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? You played Portal 2, right?
I saw my mate play through it.
Right, so it's going to be difficult for you to understand. Okay. Portal 2...
No, he was literally in front of me.
Okay.
I literally watched him play it all day.
So Portal 2 had remember we had the potato, you had what's the
second
name?
section.
Yeah.
GLaDOS
as a potato sort of attached to your gun or arm or whatever it was. I feel like there was like a good chunk of that game where it felt very atmospheric, very lore heavy. There was a lot of like story being told, and for some reason that makes me think of, whenever I think of Control, it makes me think back to when I played Portal 2. Would you say it's a similar atmosphere, or is there a lot more? Because I feel like it almost felt too quiet. Portal 2 was like very atmospheric, very lore heavy, but it almost felt like dead silence for that. Like even the only noise that was ever being made was by your footsteps, and I doubt that's probably what Control was like in terms of noise, like the sort of like ambient noise. Was there like things going on in the background, or was it more silent? What would you say?
It's not a million miles away from that Portal 2 environment.
That's kind of good because I really enjoyed that, even though it was like weirdly quiet. I really enjoyed it.
You've definitely got a lot of quiet in this game.
Okay.
And actually, Jay, I will give a shout out to the sound effects because they are incredible.
It's probably why they made it so quiet, so you can actually listen to the sound effects properly. Because usually, a lot of the time, like action games, you just can't hear sound effects, right? And even if you do, there's just so much. Yeah, there's so much going on. It's like, whoa, god.
if you were like in control and you heard like a printer go,
Oh,
you'd
I
probably be like,
see.
you know what I mean? You'd
I
probably be a bit like,
see.
what's going on here, kind
Yeah,
of
like
thing.
a ghost or electrical thing going on. Yeah, no, I can kind of imagine what it'd be like. I do really want to play it, but there's so many things lined up now that I already have like in my head, like my gaming schedule. I honestly don't think I'll be able to fit it in, even though you said it's like quite short. I really have to like. I have to like. It almost has to be like inspiration, like an artist has. Like I kind of have to get that inspiration and know that I've got enough time to do it at the same time. Like those two sort of perfect things have to align, and a lot of the time they don't. So we'll just cross our fingers and hope that it turns up that I want to be in the mood
With your
for it.
gaming schedule, is that for games that are going to come out,
Yeah, it's
or
like a
is
good mixture of ones that are coming out and ones that I'm currently playing. So I have to
okay?
kind of like not be in the mood for the ones that I'm currently playing, but also have to be in the mood for the ones that are coming up. Like there's like a crossover. A lot of the
What
time it's
if
just
you're
spontaneous, but I don't know. Sometimes it's planned. It just depends.
what if a game coming up? So let's say Guardians, for instance.
Good example,
I
because
know
I can
you're
tell you
looking
about that.
forward to that. Sorry.
I've actually booked off time from work to play it.
Nice.
Well,
For release
only
day.
like yeah, release day. Actually, no, day after release day. So I
Oh,
think
because you
comes
might
out
not
the
get it.
no, it comes. I'm getting it digital, so I'll download it. But the date, yeah, it comes out the 26th, I think, or 25th, 26th, and I'm off from the 27th until like the Tuesday after. So I didn't deliberately do that necessarily for that reason. I know I because I've only been working where I've been working since the beginning of August. I haven't really accrued much time. So they told me that I had 3.5 days to take. Where I thought, well, I might as well take them close to Christmas, but not too close that it's gonna like be all too much of a holiday at once. So I'll take it in the middle of August and Christmas, so October, and then happens to be that Guardians comes out that week. So I thought, well, good timing.
Amazing.
So I'll
Do you
actually be
not
able to
like
enjoy it.
having big holiday gaps for work? Then you don't enjoy that.
I don't mind it. It's just that I know I'm gonna like ache when I go back.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for a game like that, what if like you get to like the 25th or whatever, and then suddenly you're like, oh my god, I'm not in the mood for
Not
Guardians
in the
at
mood for
all?
Guardians. Yeah.
Or is it that because it is a new game, you're gonna be in the mood basically?
I think I'm gonna have to somewhat force myself. Yeah. Also, I don't think
If
I'm
that
trying to think
happens,
right because Back 4 Blood comes out on the 12th. I
okay.
don't really imagine myself playing that for any longer than 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after the 12th is around the time that Guardians comes out. So I'm trying to think what else. There are a couple other games I wouldn't mind playing, but I don't know if I want to spend the money to buy them necessarily. I have like 4 days to make up my mind if I actually want to buy them or not. So there's a Nickelodeon All Star Brawl that comes out. It's like the Nickelodeon Smash game.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard about that.
No, not really.
Yeah, so it's like characters from Nickelodeon, but in a Super Smash Brothers game style game. It's a fighting
Is
game.
it
But
one of these like SpongeBob remake games?
no,
No,
it's got
brand new.
SpongeBob in it. It's brand new, but it's
Okay.
got SpongeBob, like Patrick Star. It's got Ren and Stimpy. Who else? Cat Dog. Like all like the old Nickelodeon stuff, and then some of the new Nickelodeon stuff, like TMNT. April O'Neil from TMNT is in it as well.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
Hey Arnold characters, like random like old head stuff.
Cool. And
So
what's
I'm
the
I'm
other game?
debating on whether to buy it. The other one is the Demon Slayer game, but I think I kind of want to wait until it's cheaper. I don't want to pay full price for it. I don't think. I think it's one of those games that is going to be on sale in like a year for like 20 quid. So I might just do that. I don't. I'm not going to be able to fit it in between what else I want to play. So I'll just leave it. It's not too much money for what I want. So yeah, the schedule's good. Good to go.
Groovy. Okay.
Mm.
Well, that's all me done, Jay. Cool. So just a quick interlude from me, Jay. If that's all right.
Yes.
I just want to give a shout out to the soundtrack of this game. I'm a big game soundtrack fan.
I really need to listen to
So
this badly because I haven't
have
yet, and I
you haven't
need
listened to any of
to.
it yet?
No, because that's
Okay.
one of the best things about Ghost is the soundtrack. Like it's insanely good. They put a lot of work into it, and it's just insanely good. Yeah.
They really did.
I'm really bad when it comes to listening to soundtracks for games. Like I always think, oh, I should do that, and then I just never do. I always just go back to the old stuff of just some heavier metal or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like my go-to.
I find it quite relaxing in the morning when I don't want to listen to Gojira. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Dude, I listen to Gojira to go to sleep. Like legit. I don't know. It just works sometimes. It makes me sleepy sometimes. I don't know why.
Fair enough.
It either gets me hype or it just completely makes me go to sleep. I don't know. One of the two.
So I just wanted to quickly go through some of the greatest hits of the soundtrack. So The Way of the Ghost is your main theme, and the Jin Sakai.
Yeah, look at the amount of plays. That's insane.
Oh, I know, dude. And Jin Sakai is the kind of opening theme where you're running down the hill, and the title comes up. I'm sure you know what bit I mean.
Yeah, very classic.
And then another shout out is The Way of the Samurai, because that's the kind of main combat music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so whenever you go into a fight, that's what usually starts. Yeah,
and it's great. A lot of these are situational depending on the
so this sort of seems to me like pretty important story points. Like Lady Masako, I know where that is. The Last of Clan Adachi, I know where that is. Just it all makes sense if you played the game. 100%. It's almost like it is like watching a movie. Like usually a lot of the times the movie titles for the songs happen to correspond
different
with chapters
scenes
or scenes or whatever. So
100%
makes sense.
And another shout out is Forgotten Song, which is the song that plays when you go to a haiku.
So many times.
You think these are high plays?
I mean, for a game like this,
game soundtrack,
it's kind of insane. Yeah, the haikus, man.
Dude. So you know the song I mean, like the
yeah, the sort of like almost like the not tantric.
Yeah, it's a bit tantric, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more like sort of meditation, like when you like hum kind of thing, I think that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, go on, mate. You talking about the haikus?
Yeah, no, I'm glad they included that because it's very historically accurate. Just awesome.
The Way of the Ghost is the same theme, but with the singer, which I believe comes in at the end, which is quite powerful song. And I actually like the Tsushima suites because they're a bit more melodic, a bit more orchestral, a bit more atmospheric.
Didn't this win an award, the music for this? Didn't they win an award for it? Like one of the Game Awards? Yeah, I think so.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure they've won quite a few. They might have even won like I don't know about a Grammy, but it'd be good if they did.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Something like that.
So that's it for me, mate. That was all I wanted to give a shout out to. So I'll just set the people up, Jay, while you get your notes up.
Yeah.
This is a big moment, I think, kind of. I think we might have had a special.
This is kind of like almost like a debate for us, because like there's going to be a lot of involvement with you asking me questions to a degree.
Defo.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? I've just uploaded all of them. I can't even remember. We might have done a special for Cyberpunk, but if we did, I don't think we did.
No, we did. It was the last time we spoke about it was like I think it was about to come out, or maybe we spoke about after, maybe as soon as I finished it. Maybe?
Your first playthrough, yeah. Okay,
yeah, my first playthrough, not my second, third, or fourth.
So this is a big deal.
To a degree, yeah.
I think this is a big deal. So yeah, Jay, please take it away.
Okay, so my topic is Cyberpunk. I kind of just like made notes on things that I just like my general thoughts, I guess. I didn't know if I wanted to like go too much into detail about just like describing the game like you did with Control. What do you reckon?
Completely up to you, mate. Completely up to you.
Okay. I think the main thing I took away from the game, as of like recently, and then comparing it back to when I first played it, I think one of the most recent updates, the 1.31 update. I'm surprised at how good they actually made the game play. Like it plays a lot better than when it first came out, I think. Like I think a lot of people complained about how the game didn't really play that well. And I think they've sort of struggled with trying to get it to play well or to look good or to not be buggy. And I think this most recent one. So how long? So like August, I think, was the last big update, and it came out in December of last year. So it's taken like
Yeah.
9 or 10 months to actually get the game to a point where it kind of feels like it should have done on day one, I think, because we're still not at the big update yet, the enhanced update, as it were. Because it's weird, like the game still
Quick
feels
question,
like
Jay.
a previous gen, game, which is odd. But yeah, go on.
Well, it's on that point, to be fair.
Yeah,
When
go
you
on.
say it plays better, do you mean like smoother?
Yeah,
or
100%
the
just smoother.
actual...
Like not as I think the frame rates are just better. I think when the game first came out, I think the frames were like 54 frames, like 56 at a push. It would barely get to 60. Like you'd be lucky to get 60. And I think that was on both consoles. I think actually no, on the Xbox One I think it was like 30 frames. It wasn't even like close to 60. But yeah, it definitely the frame rate wasn't as good. Even though it was like only 6 frames less than 60, you can tell. Like it just seems
Sure.
like really out of whack. Like it has to be that smooth 30 or the smooth 60. It can't be in between. For some reason, it doesn't flow right. It's very odd. While the game plays well now, for some reason the game was less buggy on day one, or like the first week of it coming out. Like between the day one patch and the second patch, that was I think the best the game ever played without bugs. On X Series X, I think on maybe everything else it just did not play very well. But for some reason that first week when I did my first playthrough, didn't have a single bug. Nothing. Only time I've ever had bugs was after the first patch, or the second patch technically after the day one, which I thought was so strange. Obviously,
So they've put more bugs in almost, I guess.
they've taken a lot out, but for some reason it seems that they've also. I think the way the developers described it in a stream was that it's like doing open heart surgery, and that any amount of tweak they make can like change how it works. So they can like
because it's out,
change
right?
one bit of code, because it's already out. It's so much harder to do. So they can literally change a single letter or a single number of code, and it can completely muck up the rest of the game. So they have to be very, very careful about what they do. I think, as like an overall, like very general and vague, like opinion of the game, I'm not disappointed with it. I'm actually very, very happy with it. I just think it got hyped up too much before it came out. I think the expectations should have been less. Yeah, go on.
I would love to talk to you about
Go
this
for
point. And I'm glad you covered it, mate. I'm really glad. So overall, you like the game a lot, right?
Yeah, a hell of a lot. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if I'm trying to think of like other games I can compare this to, but there's like some games that you play that you feel like maybe weren't played by a lot of people, but it's very like personal to you when you played it. Similar thing with this, like it just felt like I was the only one playing it. Like I feel like a lot of people didn't play it because they didn't all the bad press around it, and then it felt quite like, oh, I get to play it, but nobody else does. Like it kind of felt quite, I felt quite special, like having actually put a decent amount of hours into the game. I felt like I was actually like
feeling.
Oh, very much so. But I felt like I was. It's like really hard to describe. Like
because it's like you were a kid. It's like when you're a kid, right? When you have a game on PS2 and you're like, I've got to be the only person playing this game.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I kind of felt like I was almost like doing. I was doing a good job, just wasn't being told I was doing one. Like almost like the developers like, good job, you're playing the game, and actually like doing putting good amount of time. You're actually giving it a chance versus people who play it for 10 minutes and go, oh, it's buggy as hell. I don't understand. But I can understand how your first impression of a game can mean a lot. I think had I gotten issues at the beginning of my first playthrough, I probably would have hated it for the rest of the time. I think that's
and you didn't,
the bad thing
you
about
didn't
it.
encounter that
Not
many.
First 75 hours, not a single bug.
That's crazy.
Not a single one. No dodgy dialogue. No like clipping. No T-posing. No frame drops necessarily. You know, it was all
we're 60 to
yeah,
10 or something.
yeah. No like massive frame drops. No glitched out missions. I got very lucky with that because I actually went back and checked how many missions were bugged at the time, and like half of them were bugged. So the fact that I completely missed that, maybe I did have a bug and just didn't realize. I don't know. It didn't affect
Dude,
me. So
I think it's fantastic that someone who enjoyed the game so much had like an almost perfect playthrough of
honestly,
a really broken game.
yeah. The thing is, I don't think it was as broken as people say it was on the newer generations. I think it was only the old generations that actually had most of the problems. I think all the people that played it on PS5, if it was out for the PS5, and Xbox Series X probably didn't have an issue. I think they were just quietly enjoying the game. I think it was just people who were like, I can't get a Series X or a PS5 right now, so I can only play it on previous, and I'm not enjoying it because it's buggy as hell. But I mean, they shouldn't have released it on previous generations, if you ask me. Waste of time. That's the reason why it got delayed in the first place, and it was a massive. I think it was obviously their downfall was having to bring it out on previous consoles. Yeah, massive just mistake, if you ask me. They probably made up for it in the money, but not a good idea for like.
I was going to say, I agree with you in both regards in the sense that, we want a game that's on next gen. However, at the time, Jay, only, 2 million people probably had a next gen console.
Exactly. It was more about getting a broken game out to more people than it was about getting a good game out to less people, which is just not how I think how the industry should run. I mean, they have to make money, but I think that's the most disappointing thing about the whole thing. It's just the fact that the industry has to run like that. Like, I mean, we're going to probably bring something as a topic in future shows about how the industry seems to be bring out a broken game too early and not a good enough one later on. That games are being delayed more often, but they're also coming out not finished more often. So yeah, I think we'll talk about that more. I think as like content wise, I think it was a perfect amount. Like I say, I think it took me about 65 to 70 hours initially to like do everything, like 100%, like to 1000G the game or whatever. I think it might have even been like 69 on the dot. It's like somewhere around there. Yeah, exactly. It was like literally like the meme, like right around there. I'm trying to think whether I actually played the game. I think I played it at Goilog speed. So I think if you had played it at your speed, it'd probably take you well over 100. Like well over.
Jay's like, mate, you ain't got a chance.
Yeah, basically. I will say I didn't.
A question on that,
go on.
Jay, quickly. What was it like when you were like 2-3 days in, and you're in that absolute element where the only thing you want to do is play this game? We've had it for a few games, but what was that like?
Yeah, so I started playing it on the 10th, and I finished playing it, I think, just after Christmas, right? So my couple of days in, it would have only been, it still would have been leading up to Christmas. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really remember too much. It was all a bit of a blur, honestly. I was very focused on making sure that I got all the achievements. That was like not necessarily my focus. My focus was more just like making sure that my build was good. Like I wanted to make sure that I had I feel like a first playthrough on a game that has like these level of builds and stuff. I just wanted to be like good with guns. Just made sure that I could shoot people and kill them quick enough. That was like my only real thing. I wasn't really too fussed about like the hacking or like the cyberware and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to do that, very basic run and make sure I could just enjoy the game without having to worry about too much. But yeah, no, it was good. It was just like I was in my element. Like I almost felt like I was in the world, and that was like where I wanted to be. Just like went to bed thinking about that world and woke up thinking about that world. So no, it was ideal. It was great. Awesome. There was no bugs, so I didn't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
It was great.
So yeah, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I think content-wise, the missions actually, you really felt like you were playing that character. Like the Johnny Silverhand aspect of it, it felt like you almost had like a companion, and it was just like, it felt very like Fallout to a degree. just with a bit more population. Fallout always felt quite quiet and ambient in the same way that Portal or Control kind of is, but there was obviously a little bit of a populace. It almost felt like you were a stranger in Fallout, whereas in Cyberpunk you definitely felt like you weren't as much of a stranger. It felt like you were just more of like part of the world, I guess. But I think, like, I'm trying to think like the best way to describe it. Oh man. Like the missions, like you actually felt like involved, right? And that kind of made the whole thing more enjoyable versus like just being a character placed somewhere. Like you kind of start at the beginning, right? You start at like you've just come back from out of town, but people there like already know who you were from like 2 or 3 years ago. So you just felt
So
like
you're
you
like
sort of been
returning
dropped.
home
You're
kind
kind
of
of like it's
thing.
kind of like a welcoming
Yeah.
home kind of thing. But they introduce the characters and they introduce like everything quite at a good pace. Like I say, the game's like 70 hours, right? So you're gonna have a lot of time to be able to understand everything.
So it's never like really overwhelming, you know, like all the
No,
characters and the places and the
no.
quests
It
and.
kind of feels like you're watching a movie, but you're playing it,
Mhm.
which I think is probably one of the. I don't know if I've ever had that before. Have you ever had that before? I'm trying to think of like other games that
Yeah.
maybe like just
God,
feels like a movie that you
well,
play.
I think Red Dead
Or
2
yeah, that's true.
genuinely feels
That's
like a
true.
movie.
Yeah, I'd definitely compare it to like Red Dead in terms of how it feels. Like I think again, like either like a really good series or like a really good movie.
Mm,
I think my imagination for what I wanted Cyberpunk to be was a
yeah.
lot more out there and a bit more ambitious than what I think we got. But I
So
wasn't
like in terms
too
of
disappointed with
cyberpunk
that.
elements.
Yeah, I kind of had this idea of like Blade Runner. I thought it was just going to be Blade Runner the game, but it wasn't. It was a bit more down to earth, a bit more realistic.
Right,
My
okay.
imagination was way like in the Marvel universe. It was out there. It was like really like movie quality effects and stuff. But no, I kind of had to lower my expectations a little bit, which I didn't mind doing. That was fine.
It's a little bit more just evolved from where we are now,
Hmm.
it seems. Like it's not like flying cars everywhere and
I mean,
I
to a degree
assume.
it is, but like not as much as I thought. I thought there'd be more flying
Okay.
cars. They're very sparse. Very
Oh look, there's
sparse.
one. Oh.
I think another
Um
note I made was I wasn't sure whether or not casual gamers would actually be able to make it through the whole game.
let's define, are we talking about
Someone
hardcore
who
casual
enjoys
gamers?
Call of Duty,
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
like someone like me and you, could easily get through this and understand why you'd be able to get through it, or like have to do everything. But someone who's extremely casual, who only really plays, like Fortnite or Call of Duty or FIFA or something like that, like I don't think. I mean, they probably would do if they also enjoyed this kind of stuff. But if they were just that kind of gamer who played because their friends had an Xbox kind of thing or a PlayStation, yeah, I don't think they'd enjoy this very much necessarily. And I think it much like Fallout. Like Fallout, you could literally play the game for like 10 hours and just finish the whole story, right? I think it's similar in this, but you wouldn't want to do that because it wouldn't be a very. You would. I don't think you'd actually be high enough level like for it to feel good. I think you
Sure.
actually have to. I think you have to actually play the game, like play the other parts of the game for you to like get to a good enough level for the end to actually like feel not hard. I think it's almost like if you just ran straight for the end of the game, it would almost like be playing it on extreme, and you wouldn't want to do that. It would just make it less enjoyable, I think. So.
Whereas, like you say, I think you can do that on Fallout 3 and probably Fallout 4.
Hmm.
In terms of the accessibility, then, Jay, of like casual gamers and such. So, are you saying that Cyberpunk? So, you're saying that? Are you saying that Cyberpunk is less accessible than, say, a Skyrim?
Ooh, I think any game is accessible as every other game to a degree. I just think that I think
Sorry, just to be clear, we're not talking about accessibility features. We're just
yeah, we're
talking
talking
about.
about like just able to be able to get into it kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a bit more RPG to it. there's a bit more like adult, mature RPG. Like there's a difference between a Skyrim RPG, which is literally just go in, level up, follow the story, very linear in that way. Whereas Cyberpunk is more linear, but there's a lot more you can do. Like the crafting, I feel like you kind of have to really think about what you want to do with your build, depending on how you want to like play the rest of the game, and then whether you want to do certain things along the way. Like if you're the kind of build that would want to do crafting, you're gonna want to be able to do that earlier, sooner rather than later. If you leave it too late, it kind of just feels a bit like not really a waste of time. So yeah, that would be a good idea. I think a lot of people, before the game came out, they described it sort of as, like I say, like it's almost being like a mature RPG with like the dialogue, but I don't think it necessarily was.
Mature is in because it's difficult subjects and topics, or
No,
mature is in like the delivery, or
I'd say like almost a delivery. Like it's kind of like something like a RPG my dad would appreciate, like a 70s D&D game.
right? Okay.
You see what I
I
mean?
see. Mature,
Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of mature, like an old, like someone who's a bit older would enjoy that level of RPG detail. Like I think this is a very detail orientated game versus something like Skyrim, which you can still enjoy the detail if you want to. You kind of have more of a choice. I'd say there's less of a choice with Cyberpunk. You kind of have to go into the details of stuff. Not in the
Okay.
same way that Assassin's Creed does on that mode where you kind of have to look at things to be able to know where you're going to next. If that makes sense. Do you know which one I mean?
Like your viewpoint,
No,
or
on Assassin's Creed there's a mode you can do. I think it's like a difficulty setting where you have to you don't get given
the
the
location. You have to like
location. You have to like
find.
figure it
Yeah, yeah,
out
yeah,
by clues. Like it's kind of
yeah.
like that in Cyberpunk, but not really. Like that you can again you can choose, but I'd say it leans more towards the having to figure things out
Right,
than it would do the
right. They
anything
want the
else.
play to be a little bit more autonomous than perhaps other
Yeah,
RPGs,
there
kind
you
of
go.
thing.
That's probably a better way of describing it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're touching on this point in a sec, Jay, but you mentioned characters.
Mhm.
I just wanted to gauge your thoughts on, now that you've reflected on it over a long time, unfortunately now, what your thoughts are on how you feel about certain characters, and do
Mm.
any really stand out as the great video
Yeah.
game characters, and the actors and voice
Yes.
actors and all sorts, and what your thoughts are on that aspect of the game.
I actually made a note about this. It's extremely hard to articulate how I feel about this game because there's literally too much for me to say. Like I would have to be here for hours and hours, but I can't quite exactly pick like of the details I need to pick to get it down to a good amount of time.
Well, look, Jay, I'm sure in the future, we'll do a special
Yeah, I need to
eventually.
spread it
So,
across loads. But as like a general for characters, yes, I'd say almost every character is memorable. I think that's the most important thing. I think whenever we've played a game like a Mass Effect,
yeah.
the characters are all pretty much all memorable, right? Especially the ones that are important. I'd say all the important characters are memorable, and even the smaller cameos of characters, extremely memorable. Like you're going to remember everything about that. I think even like I don't know if you saw it in like the advertising. Maybe there's like there's like a pop group of like these three girls that have like different eyes. They've got
I
like
haven't seen it,
augmentations
no.
where like one of them has like spider eyes, another one has like giant eyes, and
Okay.
there's like another one that has like a different orientation. But like I'd say their characters were like extremely memorable. Like you go to one of their gigs and you like go behind the scenes and like yeah, it's awesome.
That's interesting because that really reminds me of the Witches of Crookback Bog in The Witcher 3.
Yeah, it's
Because there's three of
extremely
them, and
involved.
they've.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
probably why they did that. I imagine. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the other good things about missions in this is like I said before, you feel like the sun revolves around you, if that makes sense. Like you don't revolve around the sun revolves around you. Like it's kind of like a backwards thing. Like you feel like you're the main character.
But you mean that in a good way, right? Not in the
Yeah.
sense that the world literally revolves, like, because you want to be part of a world that's outside of you, if you know what I
Mm.
mean, in the game.
Hmm.
Like, you want to think the world's carrying on while you're not
Oh,
there.
that's definitely that. But you also feel like if it wasn't for you, things wouldn't be happening in a
Okay.
certain way, like because of what's
Yeah.
actually like, the story and elements and everything like that. So
Okay. Cool. The memorable characters thing, Jay, makes me really
oh, I
happy
definitely
because
cried. I think I did. Did I cry when I played this game? I can't
you
remember.
got
I
everything,
think
man. You
I do.
got
I cry everything,
everything.
but I will say they're memorable enough for me to like actually like feel for the characters. From what I remember, I'm pretty sure I cried. I might not have done. I can't remember.
That's one of the
I
best
probably
things
did
for me
though.
for The Witcher 3. It's just the
Yeah,
characters. They're just unbelievable.
yeah,
They really are.
yeah.
But yeah, please continue.
I think that's about all I made notes wise. Trying to think of like other things I could say that would be interesting.
Well, can I ask you?
Or just yeah, ask me questions. I might be able to go off of that.
Well, you obviously played a few more playthroughs.
Yeah, I played 3 more playthroughs.
Do you want to touch on maybe where they noticeably apart from the way you played them, were they
Sure.
noticeably
Yeah.
different from
So
the first playthrough?
Nomad, Street Kid, and Corpo were like the main storylines you could take. I'd say the main difference is just the beginning storyline, like how you start. Like if you're a corpo, you start out in like one of the tall corporation buildings, and there's like a seedy thing that happens. Street Kid, similar thing, but you're like in a bar that becomes pretty relevant later on with like the characters who are all there.
What, so
Um,
like the first 10 hours or like the first 2 hours kind
First
of thing?
hour maybe,
Oh, okay, right,
maybe
okay.
like half an hour depending on how you play it. And then Nomad, where did you start? Nomad, you started out outside of the city because you're not actually from there. So you actually come from like a completely different city and you're just like a newbie. So I guess Nomad is probably the most different because the first two you're like a native to the city, to Night City, whereas Nomad you are a stranger to Night City. So there's a little bit of a difference there. How
But
else are
apart
they
from that,
different?
like
Oh,
like
the
there wasn't loads
dialogue
of
options are
bugs
different,
or
right? No,
oh,
no
okay.
bugs in terms of other playthroughs necessarily. But the dialogue options are different. So there was like certain things you could say that would allow the mission to play out differently depending on if you were Nomad, Corpo, or Street Kid. So technically, I could play this game like a million different ways and it'd be different each time. It'd be very similar in some ways, but you could change your dialogue depending on if you were Nomad,
Sure.
Corpo, or Street Kid, and it would definitely like do a different part of the mission. Like I feel like they almost sort of like you know fork out as it were, to a degree.
And
Like not much different, but slightly different.
your interest and likeness of this game, Jay, is great because like sometimes we'll message and you're like, oh yeah, Nick, I just jumped into Cyberpunk for an hour and just want to
No,
see
yeah,
like
I
what the
made a note
latest
about that
update
actually. Yeah,
was and like
it's fun to just once you've done everything, just to walk around and just experience stuff and just because there's always like random encounters with like enemies. There'll be like enemies within a shootout with police, so I'll just like test out a new weapon on them, random stuff like that. Like I'll craft new stuff and like like I said, I've pretty much done everything. I've got every legendary weapon. Like I've tested them all out. I've done almost every build to a degree. Like I've done the hacking one, the cybernetic one, the melee only, the blades only, the guns, the shotgun build. Like I've done majority of them across like 4 or 5 different playthroughs, and I kind of know like you kind of run out of like stuff to do to a degree in your head. Like I kind of wish there was a co-op in this game where you could play with someone else but do the same missions at the same time. Where you would both be, but you could like do the same mission, like do the same playthrough. I really wish you could do that, but I
like a
don't.
kind of Borderlands system
Yeah,
sort of
like a
thing.
Borderlands or like a Diablo. Diablo 3 was really good for co-op campaign playthrough, so
Jay, I saw a
that'd
lot
make
of
it so much
rumors
more
about a
enjoyable.
multiplayer thing for Cyberpunk. I
Yeah,
never
I think
read any of
they
them.
were doing they were planning on it coming out. I think 2022 initially, but I don't think that'll come out until much later now. I wasn't sure what the multiplayer aspect was going to be, whether it was going to be PvP or PvE. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hard
Okay,
to say.
well, yeah.
Co-op would be
Okay.
nice. Would be very nice. Yeah.
And then I guess final thing from me, what are your thoughts on the delays of the DLCs? Are you still looking forward to them?
Yeah, it's a bit
What
disappointing in terms of like I was kind of hoping that there'd be like a massive DLC by now, like an AC Valhalla style level of season pass. But yeah, I mean, I'm just at this point, I'm very passive about Cyberpunk. Like, if anything comes out, cool, you know. Like, the only thing I'm really looking forward to with Cyberpunk is, like I say, like a Valhalla style or like an AC style season pass. I just need like.
Have they released any season pass yet to buy?
No. The only DLC that's come out is a new skin or like outfit for Johnny Silverhand, a new car, and then like a new jacket for your main character. That's the only thing they've released so far.
So it's not like, you know, people have bought a season pass and they're waiting for the DLCs or anything like that?
They haven't promised anything either, so it's just all, you know, a bonus at this point. I feel like this kind of should be the end of Cyberpunk, but whether it will be, I'm not sure. I don't know, it's hard to say. I'd rather it wasn't, but I kind of just feel like it had too much of a bad start for me to be excited about it right now. I think once they get the ball rolling again, it might be hyped up back to where it should be. But we'll see. It's all to play for now.
Well, we'll end it there, Jay. Thank you. That's been really insightful and interesting for you to dive deep into Jay's multiple playthroughs.
I'm sure I'll have much more to talk about on that, but I might have already spoken too much about it. We'll see.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We'll see.
I've been dying for that. We've been waiting for that for the last 8 months. So
I guess, yeah.
It's good.
I think it's been too long, honestly. I feel like we should have talked about it like 5 months ago.
A very balanced view on it. I really do.
It's really hard for me to like find put the pin needle in the thing or whatever.
Was it the pin in the hammer in the pin or something, or
whatever it is,
top of the pin and needle in the haystack? Who knows?
Whatever. Yeah, it's hard for me to actually explain.
Jay, shall we move on to the news?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So, Jay, first up, we got some good news a few days ago when Square Enix made a press release to inform us that the previously delayed Life is Strange Remastered collection will release on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022. I would highly recommend anybody who hasn't played Life is Strange or Life is Strange Before the Storm to play these games. Anyone who's a fan of your more emotional walking simulator type games, I think it's a really great game about two teenagers that it's fairly, it's accurate in some of its portrayals, and it's a bit different from what you might have played before. Before the Storm is also a shorter prequel series set before Life is Strange, and it's better than expected, especially when you know the ending of Life is Strange. It's better because you know what's going to happen to some of these characters, but it still gets you motivated and interested and invested in them. So it's quite impressive in that sense. And I personally can't wait to play Life is Strange True Colors, developed by Deck 9, who made Before the Storm, which is out now. Jay, any thoughts on this?
I think Life is Strange is one of the games I know I'll never ever play in my life.
To put a downer on it, jeez Louise.
No, that game does not interest me, not even the slightest. I'm glad that you're happy about it.
Thanks,
it seems like I know you've spoken about it before.
Well, I won't get the collection, but I'm just happy it's being updated.
What's the new one going to be called? I forgot what you said.
It's called True Colors.
True Colors. There's got some sort of weird mechanic in that, right? Where there's a colourful thing that happens.
Yeah, and the first Life is Strange, you can rewind time, so there's always that element.
There's an element to it. Okay, fair enough.
Like a supernatural type. Yeah, I think she can either feel people's emotions or hear what they're thinking or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you're happy about that.
Thank you. Next story. The Initiative has made an interesting announcement on Twitter. This is the Xbox Game Studio, which was set up by Xbox, and they've got loads of veterans from the industry. They stated that they are partnering with Crystal Dynamics from Tomb Raider fame and, of course, the Avengers to bring this first-person spy... This is them quoting on the Twitter picture. To bring this first-person spy thriller to a next generation. So this is a bad and good announcement in my opinion, or for me. Good because I love Crystal Dynamics. I think they're a really talented studio. I think Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the great games of last gen, and I'm happy they've got another big project to work on. But bad because I personally think this is even more of a sign that this game just doesn't feel right. I'm not sure they should be working on it. I'm not sure it's going to be the hit they need it to be. And is this also them confirming it's a first-person shooter? I'm not too sure. Jay, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So what's this called?
Perfect Dark.
Oh, Perfect
Reboot.
Dark. They're doing the reboot
Perfect
on
Dark.
that. Is that the one where the teaser came out at E3, right?
Yes, or the Game Awards or something.
Yeah. So Perfect Dark was like the first game that came out on 360, right?
First game came out. Oh my word!
I'm pretty sure it was the first game that came out on 360. It kind of like
they did Perfect Dark Zero on 360.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Yeah, I'm not fussed about Perfect Dark.
No. But Jay, Crystal Dynamics on it. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well,
there's
like a saying, right, where they say you're only as good as your best.
Last game or whatever.
Or the last game you made, and the last game they made was Avengers, and it wasn't that good. In my eyes.
Are you playing the DLC for that, by the way?
No, haven't even touched it yet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I'm still
Not
waiting
interested?
on the Doctor Strange.
Oh,
But I
okay,
mean,
all right.
I kind of gave up on that. I think that game's dead to me at this point. I'm not sure.
Oh.
But
okay.
they made which Tomb Raider did they do?
They did they did some of the old ones, and then they did the Tomb Raider reboot, which I want to say is 2012. And then they did Rise of the Tomb Raider in 2015.
From what I know of those games, they are pretty good. And if this Perfect Dark can be anything like that, then yes, I'm glad that they're making it. But if it's anything like Avengers, then nope, definitely not. No,
Very
definitely not. In the words of Ollivander himself.
So, Nintendo hosted a Nintendo Direct, Jay, where they had a trailer for Bayonetta 3. Finally.
Yeah.
And
Switch only, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Bayonetta 2 was Switch. Well, Nintendo exclusive.
Yeah.
Wii U, I think. And I can confirm she is still making fantastic innuendos, which were perfection.
I think she's also grown her hair out for this, right? That's like part of the lore.
They're in. Oh yeah, it's a different style.
And she also she doesn't lose any of her hair around her body when she makes moves now, which I think is a choice by Nintendo because obviously they're a bit more family friendly. So
sure.
I think that's like their reasoning as why she's grown her hair out is the fact that she can now do moves and not have her hair come off her body too much.
And the fact they're rubbish, but anyway.
Yeah, that was like half the appeal.
Yeah, literally. It's coming in 2022. The gameplay looks interesting, but not interesting enough for me at this stage to purchase a Switch just to play.
I have a Switch, but I
wouldn't
want to play 2 or 3. I don't think. I actually kind of want to play the first one again.
Fantastic.
Is it backwards compatible? I think it is. Yeah.
Ooh. Well, there is a HD remaster, so I'm not sure if I think it might be.
I'll double check that. Yeah.
Double check. I actually thought, Jay, that the limitations of the Switch was showing itself particularly in this game because while it was running at 60 frames per second, it just didn't look that visually impressive.
Right.
So have you seen the trailer at all?
Yeah, I have a thing about this. I think the appeal of why it doesn't look so good is because it was a 360 game, right? And I think what Nintendo want to do is to try and keep the fact that Nintendo can't reach that level of graphics, kind of. They can then still make the game and have it not bear too much of a load on the Switch, but still look the same as the 360 version. So I think it's almost like a nostalgia thing for a lot of people. It doesn't need to look better, just as long as the game is still the game. Which I think is actually a good thing because it means they don't need to spend that much on it, and you can play it on the Switch. Like it doesn't need to be a massively big console for you to be able to play it. Like it's accessible more in that way, right?
True.
Yeah.
Moving on. THQ Nordic announced that the Destroy Humans 2 remake with a cinematic trailer, including a Rammstein song again in the fashion of the first trailer. I meant to watch that. Yeah. It's a very good trailer.
Okay.
Namely named
brilliant.
Destroy Humans 2 Reprobed. So, Jay, I think I can't remember. You were on Xbox, right? This trailer dropped 6 days before I watched it. YouTube algorithm, sort your
Your
out, okay?
sort
Because
your life out, mate.
seriously, you're supposed to be listening to everything I'm doing. I've told Jay that I've completed the first game, so come on,
What? So
come on,
you played
people.
the redo or the reboot of the first one,
The
right?
remake, I
Okay,
did,
you did
yes,
play it.
yeah.
Okay.
I will touch on that at a later show
Is
in
that on
more
Game
detail,
Pass?
but I have. It is on Game
Yeah, I might have
Pass,
to
Jay.
play that then. I forgot it was on Game Pass. Do we know if the second one's going to be day one Game Pass or is it just as is?
Well, the first one wasn't day one Game Pass, so I
Alright.
assume we'll
It'll
wait and
come
see.
later. Yeah, we'll see.
Developed by Black Forest Games again, who did the first one, and being made from scratch. 2022 for this, Jay. What you thought? They haven't said that. I'm just, what do you think? Will it come out 2022?
Yeah, I mean it should do. I remember them saying that the last one would come out in July of 2020, was it? Or 2021? I can't remember what they said.
2020 sounds right to me.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
And they stuck to it. It came out exactly when they said it was going to. So they seem to be one of the only game developers that can actually bring out a game on time and it still work properly.
Do you hear that? I think some shots were fired outside.
Oh, shade was thrown.
Goodness gracious me. This
so
is
true,
very big news for me, Jay. So, God of War Ragnarok will be the last in the Norse mythology of the God of War lore, if you will.
Well, what are they going to do after that?
Well, okay, we don't know.
Because the mythology, I guess it's Norse now, right? But before it was Greek mythology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I clearly missed this because they actually announced this with the kind of interview thing they did at the end of the PlayStation Showcase where they showed the big trailer for Ragnarok. So I clearly missed this. Oh. But this story is actually around the Santa Monica's creative director Cory Barlog, aka the creative director of the first God of War 2018 and God of War 2, one of the great PS2 games. And he had an interview with a YouTuber called Oh, that was quick, wasn't it? I was speaking quick then. He had an interview with a YouTuber called Captain Cuba with the K.
Cuba.
And I have quoted from Eurogamer, so all credit goes to them, I guess. But he in quote, there are several reasons. I think one of the most important reasons is time, Barlog said in brackets. What would you call that? Like where they don't say it, but they say it. You know what I mean?
Inferred.
Yeah. There you go. The first game took 5 years, which is yes.
Wow.
And the second game, I don't know how long it's going to take.
2018.
But I'm just going to throw out that it's going to take close to a similar time, to do this.
If it comes out in 2022, it's exactly 5 years later. Yeah.
No, that's 4, mate. So 2023 would be 5.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But it's a similar time frame, right?
Yeah, similar. Yeah, slightly less just because they already had the framework, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So carries on. Quote. Then if you think, wow, a third one in that same time frame, and we're talking like a span of close to 15 years of a single story, I feel like that's just too stretched out. I feel like we're asking too much to say the actual completion of the story. That taking that long just feels too long. End of quote. He then explains to Go why it's enough to conclude the story of Kratos and Atreus, the main two characters of the game. Now, we won't go into that because I just want to focus on this element, Jay, because he is so right. Okay? Because I have sat down and been like, these games or whatever, they're going to be incredible. And by the way they're phrasing it, it's going to be a trilogy. Like, it's definitely going to be a trilogy, right? So there's a few things I've got to say on this, Jay. Firstly, they could be trying to fool us all. And the last game of this trilogy is actually a different mythology. Okay, could happen in my opinion. Or they're telling the truth, and it makes complete sense because I was sitting down, Jay, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. It took them 5 years, and although they've got the framework of the game and what it's going to look like, and blah blah blah, and how it's going to play, blah blah blah, 10 to 12 years is too long for 3 games to come out. It's just too long, mate." You're arguably talking about the end of the PS5 generation by the time this last God of War game comes out, if it's a trilogy.
Isn't it the same time frame as like Halo games? They roughly release 2 every decade, or like maybe 3 every decade.
I think all 3 of the original Halo games came out in a decade.
So 2005, or like 2004 to like 2013.
Nah, I think it was
like 9 years.
Halo 3 came out like 2007.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Halo came out like 2001.
Okay, maybe 6 years. One every 2 years then. Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
So 10 to 15 years for 3 games, Jay, is a really long time. And an example of that is Rockstar, because GTA 6 isn't going to come, for ages.
You got to think these aren't like next gen games though. They're going to take longer to make. I think we spoke about this like months and months ago about how games are now going to take longer to make, but because it's with better technology, they should sort of even out in terms of like how quickly they take. Like it's almost like a give and take kind of thing where yes, they're like a lot harder to make, so they're going to take longer, but because technology is really good, it's going to sort of like balance itself back out. So I don't know. It's a hard one. Because yeah, you're right about that. Like another 5 years from now, you're talking like most of the life cycle of this console generation. Like what is every 7 years is like a console generation roughly?
Yeah, 7 to 9, something like
that. Yeah, that's kind of insane. Oh god.
Oh, you're right. No, yeah, 7. Yeah, it's insane, dude. So in a way, I'm glad they're finishing it, I guess. But in the same way, I'm like, oh, we're not getting another game. But then hopefully the story will be more succinct, and then they haven't got wastage and stuff. However, it's also a wasted opportunity because we could see more of the Norse mythology in the God of War universe. But that's neither here nor there.
They could be doing 2 lots of trilogies, but in like 3 sets of 2. So you got first 2 games Norse, the next 2 games a different mythology, and then the last 2 games a different mythology. So it's technically a trilogy, but it's like in sets of 2.
Yeah, that
it would take a lot. Cool. That's like the next 20 years, though. If they do bloody one every, that's literally like 3 or 4 generations of consoles.
Oh, dude. So something that's interesting to me is that after the trailer dropped, they sort of announced the main antagonists being Thor and Freya. Yeah, Freya from the first game. And what's interesting is that Thor's not in the first game, but Freya's fairly involved in the first game. So it makes you wonder, like how much are we actually going to dive into these characters we've actually seen a lot of already? Like I want new.
What's the length of God of War, roughly? How long does it take you to finish?
Talking Goldilocks? We talking me? We
talking you, completion? And then I'll see. I'll have a think in my head.
Story or full completion?
Full completion.
Oh, I'd say 50 hours.
Okay, so what's that, like 40 for me? 45 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's actually quite a long time, but
very similar to Horizon Zero Dawn playthrough, actually, believe it or not.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all my news stories for the week. So Jay, let's move on to yours. Jay wanted to break my heart today, so he did that.
I certainly did. I enjoyed.
Reported by Callum Patterson, at Dexerto. I don't know how to say that.
Sure.
During a live stream, Jason Garza, who's the community coordinator for Respawn, said to not get our hopes up for Titanfall 3. Quote, "We don't have anything in the works. There's nothing there." End quote. That might be a bit of a...
it's because they're still working on Apex, right? They're like on season 9 now or something. Makes them a hell of a lot of money, dude.
Jay, why would you do this to me?
Probably because they've made so much money since Apex come out that they thought, well, there's no point in developing a whole game if we know it's not going to make that much money. I don't think Titanfall 2 did very well, no.
No, it didn't, but it is becoming a bit of a cult classic on the old sales, I think.
Yeah, and I think the only reason Titanfall 1 did well is because it came out with the release of the Xbox One, no?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's one of I feel like there's like a game that usually comes out around the same time as the release of a console, and the only reason it does well is because it comes out with the release of a console. I'm trying to think what it would be for Series X. What came out with Series X as a release title?
Xbox exclusive?
I guess so, yeah.
Did we get
any? I don't remember if we did. I don't know.
Well, for me, Jay, the definitive launch of this generation
AC Valhalla came out.
Yeah, I was going to say, Valhalla's my definitive... Yeah.
That would have done well regardless of when it came out, though, I guess.
Defo.
Oh, well. I guess there's no version of that for this generation.
What's, Jay... in my head, I've got Camino, but it's not Camino. What's the 360 reg?
Cameo?
Cameo.
But with a K instead of a C.
Yeah. That's your example, right? Like
yeah, that's the 360 one. It only did well because it came out with the 360. Yeah. But I think a lot of people love that. I still love that game. It's a great game.
Dude, I adore Titanfall 1 and 2, but you're
I
right,
know
like
you
it
do,
makes sense to
yeah.
work on Apex.
So my question to you would be: would you
Yeah.
like a Titanfall 3? Would that be? Are you interested in that at all? Do you not care?
I would get it day one, probably.
Oh wow! I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to be like, "Nah, I'm good with just 1 and 2."
Dude, Titanfall is genuinely my favorite FPS franchise, like right now.
Yeah, sure.
Like I love the multiplayer. I'm okay at it, and I really like the campaign for Titanfall 2, and I've only got good things to say about the multiplayer. Like it's an easy game for me to play, to whack on, and I'm okay at it, and that's that. You know.
What would you like to see be new features, or like to Titanfall 3? If there ever was one, what would you want there to be new?
It's a great question, Jay.
Because like, what was the difference between 1 and 2? Was there any sort of like a development there, or was it much the same?
1 didn't have a campaign.
Oh, there you go. There's the development already.
So for the third one, I would expect another type of revolutionary level. It's like it's in Titanfall 2 campaign, maybe 2 of those. I would expect a slightly longer campaign, but still a really super high quality one. So no baggage. I would expect a multiplayer, which is evolved in the normal multiplayer ways. You know, in Titanfall 2 you got swords. So in Titanfall 3, maybe you've just got like hand-to-hand Titans who literally punch other Titans or something. I don't know.
I have a feeling there'd be a battle pass, right?
Dude,
I feel like every multiplayer game now has a battle pass. Even if there's like, it's still got like a free version of it or whatever. But yeah, everyone. I actually quite like that. I'm kind of glad that most games have battle passes now. Because it kind of gives me
for another time. Goodness gracious.
Actually, yeah, that'd be a good topic, but it does give me a good incentive to play multiplayer games more. I say there's definitely multiplayer games I've played just because of the battle pass, or at least that's been like a good chunk of the reason.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be something for the future.
Okay, Jay. Next up.
Uh-huh.
In the news that surprised everyone, aside from maybe Jay himself, Bandai Namco has announced that Tales of Arise has already, it's first time, leave me alone, surpassed 1 million units sold worldwide.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So I was very excited about this game before it came out, and then I played the demo, and I was like, nope, I'm good. But I don't really care about that. I'm just happy that this game is actually like sold pretty well initially. I think any game that can make anything close to 1 million copies sold is pretty good. So the fact they've done it this early is pretty decent, and it kind of gives me hope for hopefully more development of other stuff that's similar in the future. Just happy. I always like seeing games that give out their details about how much they've sold early. So just thought that was awesome.
100%, dude. And apparently it's the fastest selling title in the franchise.
I was going to say, yeah, I think that's the other part of it, is the fact that it's done so well, and it being the one that sold the best or the most of the whole. I mean, there's so many Tales games, it's insane. But yeah, it only makes sense that this the next generation make a good one,
Absolutely. And I think you'll agree with me, Jay, that it's just great to see JRPGs alive and
100%.
today.
JRPGs, yeah, they are the future and the past and the present. They are all
very well put. We've got our Final Fantasy 15s and 7 remakes, and we've got your Dragon Quest 11s.
And most importantly, our Final Fantasy 13s. Thank you very much for missing that one out. The best one of them all.
We'll move on. No, look, I love it. I'm only joshing you.
It's the best.
Steam giveth and Steam taketh away, Jay.
It certainly does.
New Worlds, the Amazon developed MMO,
so
is the most played game of 2021 on Steam, with 684,364 concurrent players. This comes from IGN.
How many?
And an all-time peak. Wesley LeBlanc from IGN, and all-time peak of 707,230 at the time of his writing.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of people, Jay. I want to get all your thoughts on this because I have no.
Do you know what's funny about that? My mobile game that I play has more concurrent players. Would you believe?
That's where we'll leave the show, people. We'll see you.
No, I think that's cool. I'm just surprised because I'm just trying to think like, there's what other games have come out, on PC that should have maybe gotten more players. I don't know. I think what it is Blizzard has recently taken a bit of a tumble with their brand, and so people are trying to find anything to move on to away from WoW. And initially it was Final Fantasy 14, I think everyone moved to.
Absolutely
It's gotten
right.
a bit of a big push. I think Final Fantasy 14 is currently on its most concurrent players ever because they've all moved over, and now I think people are like, right, New World, on to the next. They just want to like see if it's better than WoW, basically. Like the WoW killer in quotes has like been talked about for like decades at this point. They're just trying to find the next best thing. And I think people are a lot more willing. They've got a lot more spare cash after the in quotes after the pandemic to give it a go. Basically, everyone's bought their PCs and they've collected their graphics cards as best they can, and they've been like, right, New World, here we go. So I reckon that's probably why there's so many, is because a lot more people have been able to over the last year. But I think it's cool though.
Yeah, it's a cool story also because Amazon have finally had a bit of a success with their game.
That's true too. Amazon have had a bit of a rough start, I'd say. Definitely, they needed a bit of something, a bit of a jump start somewhere. So even though they've got the most money, it's kind of saying, no, I won't be able to play it. Right? As unless it came out on console, which never would, I wouldn't be able to play it. My laptop just isn't good enough. But I'd love to if I could, but I can't, so I shan't.
Have you ever played Final Fantasy 14? Are you a big fan of it at all?
Really wanted to. I'm a big fan of following MMORPGs, just not a big fan of playing them necessarily. I feel like they take up too much time. I feel like which is why Destiny 2 or Destiny in general is like perfect for me, because it's an MMO that's a bit more accessible. Like you can jump 100%. In and out and it feel like you're not missing out on too much. Whereas an MMO you can't feel like you need to play it every day, if not you just miss out. To a degree.
It's very demanding.
Yeah, very demanding, yeah. Hard to jump back into, I think.
On the point you mentioned, Jay, you're right. Amazon have got all the money, so you think you can just throw money at the problem.
But I think one of the I can't remember. What was the last game they tried to bring out? Was it the Lord of the Rings one? I think.
Yeah, what cancelled MMO?
Yeah, I think the lead designer of that just like quit. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Wow.
I think it was because he had come from somewhere else where he said he had a lot of experience, but he didn't. This is like his first game he ever worked on. But I think he thought that because he had a lot of money, it'd be easy to make a game, but they were like, no, money doesn't make a game. It's actually like talent that tends to make games.
And skills, yeah.
Yeah. It was like, I thought money gets you that. He's like, no, that's not really how it works, mate. But, all right.
Would you like to talk about the poor launch? Well, not poor. The launch troubles that New World's had, or any thoughts on that?
I mean, the only sort of trouble it's had is people just getting in, which is typical, really, of most MMOs when they first come out. Just being able to, handle that many players. Like the fact that this is the most that an MMO's had in its initial release in a while. Like, it's a new game, especially one that's made by Amazon, who doesn't really know much about what they're doing when it comes to games. They're going to have a bit of a rocky start, but I still think give it like a month, it'll be smooth sailing. It'll be fine.
Awesome.
It'll be fine.
Alrighty, so the big one, boys and girls and boys. From today, at the time of recording on Thursday, I won't tell you the date. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 important games have come to Game Pass. Not important because they're outstanding games in their own right, in my humble opinion, but rather because Jay has both of these games, because one of them is Avengers and the other is Scarlet Nexus. Jay, shall we handle Scarlet Nexus first because it's slightly smaller of a topic?
Yeah, I think I bought Scarlet Nexus maybe middle of August or like end of August.
When did it come out? March?
Yeah, beginning of the year, I think. But yeah, I bought it on sale, and I've obviously been duped because that sale was obviously the pre-sale to them releasing it on. Problem with releasing it on Game Pass. Problem is they only announced that it was coming on Game Pass earlier today, and then they released it on the same day. They tricked people, because usually they give the Game Pass like a good 2 or 3 weeks notice of like, oh, by the way, this game's coming out in 2 or 3 weeks on Game Pass. Nope, same day. So annoying. Had I known this was coming, I would have obviously not bought it before. But I'm not. I'm not too fussed because at least I own it now. To a
If
degree.
it goes away on it,
Yeah, at least I can still have it, exactly. Which I'm a bit scared about with like certain games, that them going away and me not being able to play them again until they come back. So yeah, I
on
need to
Scarlett
finish all the
Nexus,
ones
Jay,
that started.
on Game Pass, sorry, I was going to make a point on Game Pass. Do you think this is an element of growing pains where, they're still trying to figure out things? For instance, announcing a game's coming to Game Pass and then launching it the same day. It doesn't seem right, does it?
It kind of makes me feel targeted. It's very, it's very. Oh, it's like they deliberately went right. We're going to trick this one person.
So is it on sale now?
Yeah, it's literally out now. I think.
Is it on sale now? Sorry.
No, it's on Game Pass.
Because I was just wondering.
It was on sale about about a month ago. I think is when I bought it, roughly end of August. So I reckon they timed it.
Yeah, it's not that long ago. I understand. No. Yeah.
It's so cheeky they did that. It's so typical.
And Jay, the big one, which we didn't think was going to come to Game Pass for a while, and I suppose it's been a year now, but Avengers.
Yeah, I think this is the only way they're actually going to make any money. Because they're also going to get a cut of that Game Pass money, so... I don't know, they're obviously not doing very well. I reckon this will increase the player base a little bit, the fact that you can get it for Game Pass now. And I reckon that they're just banking on the fact that because the player base is going to increase only a slight amount, it'll actually be enough to carry the game for another couple of months until they release the next character. They basically just need to tie themselves over, which is what Game Pass is. I don't know how long it'll be on Game Pass. I predict... How long? What's like a usual amount of time for Game Pass games to be on?
I think...
Like 6 months?
3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I reckon this will be max 6 months. Anything less than that will be like, average, I guess. So I can't imagine it'll be on there too. Like, it'll probably be on there until maybe the end or like the end of the next character. So once the next character comes out, by the time that event ends, it'll probably somewhere around there. It'll probably won't be on Game Pass anymore. So, but I have no idea.
Do you think it'll get a pretty big boost when
it should do? Game. I mean, how many people have Game Pass? Millions.
Millions.
There you go. There's your boost. Enough people probably looked at the price and went, "Nah, I'm good." Then they had Game Pass already and went, "Yeah, might as well try it." There'll be enough people who go, "I'll try it," for it to get increased. And then hopefully those people will just buy microtransactions, which they probably won't.
Especially for that game.
Yeah.
Like that's a game where people wouldn't buy it but would try it.
Honestly, I kind of feel like Game Pass is a bit of a handout for a lot of games, especially ones. It almost feels like the graveyard. Game Pass kind of feels like a bit of a graveyard. Almost like, actually, it's more like Limbo. It's kind of like the place you go once you die, and then you get judged on whether you need to fully die or come back to life.
I get you.
It really is like Game Pass is genuinely Limbo for games.
Like the games that haven't perhaps done as well as they would have hoped go in a Game
so
Pass.
It's almost like a second chance.
The trial of like the Emperor's Trial.
Yeah, it literally is. Yeah. Exactly.
Like thumbs down. Yeah. Oh, that's a great analogy or metaphor. One of those.
Scarlett Nexus probably didn't do as well as it hoped. Even though I'm pretty sure it sold quite a lot actually in its first weekend.
It never sells as well as they'd hope.
No, I guess not. But Game Pass will be a good boost for a lot of these things. Definitely.
And just lastly on the Avengers thing, then you're not interested at all, even after all that investment. And
I know. No, I feel like
you didn't love it, but
I played it for like 2 weeks. So I feel like I got a good amount of time out of it.
You got your money's worth.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's usually £1 per hour, right? So a £60 game should be 60 hours minimum.
Absolutely.
I think I paid somewhere around there, and I think I probably played it for like 60, 70 hours. So yeah, I got my money's worth as far as I'm concerned.
Groovy. And last up, Jay, on the fake gaming news, the least surprising news since Bill Clinton had an affair.
Called it, dude.
Sony Interactive Entertainment to acquire Bluepoint Games.
I'd love if I could go back to the exact moment in the exact podcast where I just like a clip of me being like, "Yo, I bet Bluepoint are going to get bought out by Sony. I just know it." Or by PlayStation.
There's lots of rumors flying around. There was the leak. They were denying it. And finally it's official. And
I think when I
I think
started to predict it, it's probably when they maybe started talking about it. That might have been why. Because usually
I've predicted it for a while now. I've got to
a lot of
say.
these acquisitions, is that what they call it?
Acquisitions,
A
yeah.
lot of the acquisitions take time. They take a lot of time of talking and deals and making sure everything's legally written out and written up and everything. So they probably started talking about it around the time we thought it might happen, and then obviously since then it's taken that long for them to actually make it official. So yeah, I think it was fairly obvious, honestly. Once the Demon Souls thing was coming out, I was like, yeah, Sony are definitely going to pick these guys up. No doubt about that. They're too good at making remakes.
Absolutely.
Too good at
And
it.
yeah, Demon Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, Nathan Drake collection, they're
Yeah.
fantastic studio.
Yeah, they've got a good
Fantastic
portfolio so far, and I think they're going to go far in terms of making remakes and redo things. So yeah, I'm sure
100%.
we'll see them around for a long time, or a decent amount of time.
So another quick interlude. Please check out our social media channels if you so desire. We've rebranded them all. They are active and going. Active from our lovely Goldilocks gamer himself.
I try.
So we've got the old FB, we've got the
Mhm.
old Twitter, we've got Instagram, and I think we've got YouTube also.
Yep.
So you'll find some cool stuff on there. Some unique content, actually.
All of our
which I
previous
believe-
content from last time we did this.
Yep.
All 39 previous episodes.
Yeah,
Plus
they're on
some
YouTube
specials.
and they're on SoundCloud as well, and hopefully they're on other places if everything goes according to plan. El's actually working on changing our iTunes logo because I can't do it, so he's gonna have a go.
Okay.
Just spread the word. Just tell everyone how good we are. Basically, that would be my task for everyone this week. Jay, something a bit old now. Something a bit more relatable to the old show, if you will, the old incarnation. Guess whose review?
Yeah.
Are we?
Do you know what's funny
feeling
about
good?
this? So I still have the score from previous games we've played.
Very good.
The score is currently 22 to 21. Me being the 22, you being the 21. So this is your chance to get ahead, or at least equalise, or maybe get no points. We'll see. And
For the uninitiated,
there we
this is a game that me and Jay created where we pick a game review of random,
Yeah.
and we pick 3 quotes from that game review, and then we'll release each quote with more points being you get the first quote, and then less being the last
So
quote.
3, 2, 1. First quote 3 points. Second quote 2 points. Third quote 1 point. And then if you don't get it at all, 0, I guess. We'll see how we do. But a funny thing, I've actually had this review, guess whose review, since in preparation for the last podcast that we did. So like from January or whenever it was.
Oh dear.
So I've had it since then, ready to go on my laptop. So I'll have to prepare for next time now. But yeah.
Are you excited about this?
I am. I'm kind of like, I kind of feel like you're gonna get this, but we'll see. I think this is like this is a medium difficulty, I'd say.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, number 1. A living world where anything can happen. It both gives you tremendous freedom to explore an astonishingly well realized world.
Jay, that's literally every open world game.
Exactly.
Oh Christ. Okay. Can you read it? I know we don't usually ask questions, but would you say that if I think of the right game, I would be able to get it from that quote, so to speak? Like, are there elements in there, do you think, within that quote?
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, alright.
To a degree. It's extremely vague, but yeah.
Can you repeat the quote, please?
Okay, a living world where anything can happen. It both gives you tremendous freedom to explore an astonishingly well realized world. So it's an open world that's extremely realistic. That's about as much as I can give you.
Yeah, so when they say realistic, I'm wondering whether they mean realistic in the world, if that makes sense.
Sure, by either how it looks or by what you can do.
Right.
Yeah, one of those, I imagine, or both. I don't think you're going to get it on the first one. I think you'll get it on the second one almost immediately, which is annoying.
I've got a game in mind, but I don't think
Well,
you
you can
would know that I've
you only
played
have
it.
one guess per quote, so take a guess.
Yes,
If you
all
get it
right.
wrong, I'll move on to the next one.
Okay, is it Horizon Zero Dawn?
It is certainly not.
I thought he was going to say yes!
Right, I reckon you'll get it on this one. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The plot happily operates at the boundaries of plausibility, sending you out to ride dirt bikes along the top of trains, hijack military aircraft, and engage in absurd shootouts. Now, the fact that you haven't guessed it already worries me.
Repeat that quote.
Okay. The plot happily operates at the boundaries of plausibility, sending you out to ride dirt bikes along the top of trains, hijack military aircraft, and engage in absurd shootouts. So what game can you ride a dirt bike along top of a train and hijack military aircraft and engage in absurd shootouts? And no, it's not that one, it's the other one.
Oh, it's not that one.
I mean, it might be, but I feel like I know what you're thinking, but it could be, I don't know, it's hard. Like, I feel like this is a very 50-50 quote for you, I'd say.
God, this is bad. Is it GTA 5?
Certainly is. Well done. I had a feeling you would either say Just Cause.
Yes, that was definitely up there. Yep.
Yeah, or you'd say GTA 5. So, yes, you now have 2 points.
Actually, for a minute, thank you. I actually,
So
for a minute, thought it was Red
me.
Dead, and then I remembered you said
yeah, exact dirt bike. Yeah, that's exactly it, yeah. But then I also said hijack military aircraft. I don't think you can hijack military aircraft in Red Dead. Thing is, they're both Rockstar, so
Dutch.
You know.
Dutch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
So yeah, I've had that. I've been waiting to tell you that since January. So thank you.
That's a great Guess Who's review because
I actually want to tell you the third one because you definitely should get it from the third one.
Yeah, no, that's a great one because it's such a big game. Go on.
This 3-character structure makes for an excellent pacing and great variety in the storyline, but it also allows you to compartmentalize different aspects of the game's personality. So the main part of that quote is the 3-character structure.
For sure.
There's obviously 3 characters you can play at one time. So.
For sure.
I thought
Jay,
that one would probably be
do you know where
obvious.
you got the review from, mate?
IGN, probably.
IGN. Review from Keza McDonald from IGN. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that was excellent, Jay.
Your turn next time to come up with one.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Any final thoughts you would like to say, Jay, before I close this out? Did you want to discuss any of the games that you have played over the last blah, 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 blah? Or do you want to leave them for now?
We'll leave them for now. There's plenty of time to talk about those.
All right, Jay. Well, I think we've already said this quote, but I would like to finish with a quote.
Yeah.
From Kratos in God of War 2018. Don't be sorry, be better.
Interesting.
Do
you know when he said that?
At the exact moment.
What do you mean?
I know the exact moment when he said it.
Okay, go on then.
Oh, okay. I believe it's quite early on in the game when Atreus is hunting a boar or a deer. I think it's a boar or something. He misses, and I think he misses a couple of times, and then he starts getting angry, I think. And Kratos is like, you know, getting like, just calm down, just like stop being rubbish. And he's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, don't be sorry, be better.
Right, okay. Interesting. I'm sure there's a lesson there.
I think that's the moment.
I'm sure there's a lesson there.
Incredible quote.
Okay.
And I would like for everyone to ponder on that. Jay, thank you so much for everything. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's been a pleasure having you on and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Always fun.
Good. And with that, we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy. Have a good weekend.